and welcome back to the channel, everybody. And we're going to talk about car prices right now and what's taking place in the car market that will finally, hopefully, fall in our favor amidst a whole bunch of other things that are not falling in our favor. But we need to acknowledge the fact that there is opportunity when there is blood in the water, and right now there is some blood in the water, and there will be significantly more blood in the water in the next few months, and we should all benefit from that. So let's jump into this cat pack and have a conversation about what is about to happen. All right, so let's jump right in. So the entire economy is in a major shift right now. We all know that that is happening. We're all experiencing it on one level or another, and no question, I've had to make some pretty big decisions lately out of sheer prudence and using my brain compared to, if you watch my last video, when I lost everything in 06 and 07, where I'm going to be smarter this time around so that I can capitalize on opportunities in this market. Now here's what's happened to me just in the last couple of months. As you all know, I've been waiting patiently for a $100,000 Dodge jailbreak to show up, and that car finally showed up, and interest rates had changed from March, April, when I had to give my other Hellcat back for emissions issues, to now the banks being ridiculously paranoid and punitive, along with affected by the current interest rates. So many factors are at play right now. In my situation, no question, some of you commented that you could get a better rate than I got despite my 722 FICO score, and I believe it's even higher today. And for that reason, you gave me a little bit of crap in the comments, which is fine. But remember, everybody's situation is different. Their level of debt, their credit history, everything's factored in with a lot of these banks right now. For me, having 4 cars and applying for a 5th car loan clearly was not a question in the bank's mind back in January, February, March. But today, they're definitely being more cautious. And when I called my credit union, she had no real good explanation on why the rate was coming in at 10.5% with literally perfect credit. Used credit, definitely used, not abused, but used credit over 700 FICO score, which in the past was never a problem. Even today, it's not a problem, but I'm getting offered 10.5% interest rate. And for me to go shopping for a lower interest rate means that the best case scenario, I was probably going to get somewhere around maybe 8% based on the amount of car loans I have. On TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, they don't care if you make 10 times what your debt is. They simply look at the credit. And yes, while it's in the application, it is that much of their decision. Somebody could make 50 grand a year with an 850 FICO score and apply for a $5,000 a month Lamborghini and lie about their income and probably get approved. The bank doesn't even care. But if I do it based on the amount of car loans I have, the bank's punitive. And I'm telling you, what's been happening to me in my extreme situation, where I'm the anomaly to most of the planet with this many cars and stuff going on at any given time on my credit, I believe, and I think we're witnessing, everyone's now getting treated the same way. Now, yes, there's some of you out there that, you're trading in your car that you've had paid off forever, and now you're going to buy a car, and the last time you bought a car was 6 years ago, and you just paid off your loan, and you've done everything very conservatively, and you're getting offered a 6% interest rate. Not everybody's going to be in those shoes, and you are, I believe, going to be the anomaly. The rest of us, we're staring down the barrel of huge leap in interest rates. And what's happening as a result of those leap in interest rates is affordability is a factor. Now, it's a factor in real estate. It's always been. The amount of people that can afford the thing for sale gets smaller, and we start reaching, let's just say 20%, 18%, 15%. I think in real estate, we're averaging around that 18% of the people can afford to buy a house. And that's really low when you think that that means that 82% of the people out there can't afford to buy a house. Well, The same thing's happening with car loans now, because car loans, having been held so high for so long, and markups and add-ons and all those factors being in play, were allowed and frankly tolerated because we were buying cars at 2 and 3 and 4% interest. That's gone. And now when you go buy that same exact car for $65,000 or $70,000, you're going to pay potentially $100, $200, maybe even $300 more per month for the same car. And it's very likely that the banks are going to require you to put more money down than they did in the past. And if there's markups or add-ons, the bank's going to be really, really cautious. So I believe, and what we're witnessing and what we're seeing is, combine all of those factors along with the fact that there was a 54% increase in new cars being shipped to lots in the last month, and we have a 4% decline in used car sales, and that is going to continue to get worse because we are dealing with like month 1, maybe even 1.5 of used cars flooding the market. You can go to car dealerships now and there is a ton of cars on the car lots compared to before. Maybe not at the Dodge dealership when it comes to cars, but they certainly have a bunch of trucks and a bunch of other stuff. And right now what you'll find there is a whole bunch of the 6-cylinder Chargers are lined up there, Challengers, and a lot more RTs than we've seen in the past. You're not going to find the Scat Packs, you're not going to find the Hellcats, you're not going to find the wide bodies. For sure, those are still in very high demand and very low supply. But I believe that the days of these dealers getting a $10,000, $15,000 markup on a Scat Pack are going to be heavily thwarted by buyers' ability to pay that, or their willingness to pay that based on all the economic circumstances that are taking place. Additionally, repos are starting to increase. When you start reading all the articles out there, car repos, defaults, people being late on their payments, all these numbers are going through the ceiling, and I believe that's partly because people paid so much for their cars and so much over for their cars that now, and they also used their stimmy checks and a lot of that free money that they got sent, and now their jobs are cutting back, their jobs are laying off, and that's impossible to get away from, especially in the mortgage industry and a lot of the financial industries. There are mass layoffs taking place, and those people, while it's not been shown in the unemployment numbers yet, these people still were riding high, making a lot of money in those industries, and now they're suddenly not. And I'm not saying it's just a little bit less money. I'm talking some of these folks, especially in the mortgage industry, were making ridiculous money. I mean, obscene amounts of money, and then it shut off instantly. And it just keeps getting worse. And the companies, even if they're still paying them their base salaries, all their bonuses are gone, and they are completely out of that disposable cash they used to have. And they're sitting on a $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 car payment. So I believe we're going to see Hellcats coming back into the market. We already are. I mean, I went and looked on a dealership the other day. There were like 2 used Hellcats. Another one up by me has 3, and the guy even did the video on Instagram saying, we have, I think it was 4 Hellcats. One a standard Hellcat, I think 2 red eyes, and a jailbreak, and one of them was a Challenger, the rest were Chargers, and they're all there with like 3, 4, and 5,000 miles on them. How does that even happen? Why would somebody buy a car, actually use the car for a few months, and then now, when the market is doing what it's doing, suddenly throw it up for consignment, suddenly sell it to the dealership? They're not doing it because they just don't like the car anymore. They're doing it because they see that this economy is in trouble and that the car prices are dropping, and they're going to be stuck in those cars where they can maybe get out right now. Because what's happening is, at this dealership that I'm talking about, those 3 or 4 Hellcats that they've got are wildly overpriced still and not moving. I keep checking the websites and they keep sitting there. And one of them, I think the jailbreak's like $125,000 or $129,000, and the other ones are well over $100,000, maybe $100,000, $103,000, $105,000. These numbers are crazy when you think about it, in combination with an 8, 9, or 10% interest rate. Also, while many banks will consider these really new cars with miles on them as new cars for financing purposes, not all banks do. And they're looking at it as a used car also. In some cases, the rate's going to be even higher. So add all this in, we have a problem. Actually, we don't have a problem. The dealerships are going to have a problem. Next, we've got a crashing stock market. So what about all the cash buyers out there that don't care? They've got all this cash. Well, here's the problem. The stock market has taken a nosedive, and that's where a lot of people's cash was. If they had Bitcoin, they had Ethereum, if they had crypto, that's in the toilet right now. And the only way to get that cash would be to accept a loss and sell it at the low price and take that loss now to become liquid. The problem is I'm talking about if you had $100,000 in an account, depending on what you were invested in, it could be as low as 30, maybe even 50% less than what it was. I know even my crypto account's probably maybe 70% down than what it was just back in March. So that affects liquidity no matter how you cut it, meaning people cannot pull the cash out to go pay off their car or to go purchase a car with newfound gains from the stock market. So that's going to slow liquidity, and it's going to slow the insanity. Remember, when I was out looking for a McLaren or a Huracan, I was going to put $50,000, $60,000 down with costs, and I was thinking I'm just going to take it out of the market. I have a lot of money floating around out there that's made me a lot of money. A lot of those profits have evaporated, and I told the dealership, I said, nope, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop looking. I'm going to hold off, because at this point, the market's going down. Pulling it out would mean I have to accept the loss. I believe over time, these things will come back. They always do. So I'm going to wait it out. I don't need that money right now. I have some good liquidity in the bank right now where I can take care of our family and still have some fun cars and do the fun things, but I'm not going crazy. And then you have the people who, this last few years, when rates were 2 and 3%, were refinancing their houses and taking cash out. Now think about this. If you were sitting on a mortgage at, let's say, 6%, or 5.5% before, and rates got down in the low 2s or even low 3s, and you refinanced your house, you could have pulled $50,000 in cash out and likely had a very similar house payment than what you had before resetting that loan at the newer rate. That caused a lot of people, I believe, to go pull money out of their houses when they refinanced because they had tons of equity with the massive price run up and buy houses. We saw this in 2004 and 5 with the Hummers. People were out there refining their houses and paying cash for these ridiculous cars. Cars would drop in value, and then people were stuck with those loans on their houses. So I don't believe it's to the extent that we had it happen in the last recession, but no question there are people out there that did that, and that's how they were coming up with this extra money for these ridiculous markups. Think about this. No sane human being would be totally cool with paying $10,000, $15,000 over MSRP if it was money they bled for. I've been called cheap in my family before, despite the fact that I buy lots of fun stuff, and there's no way I could have handed that money. I just couldn't do it. You couldn't get it out of my hand. 5 giant men holding me down, trying to pull that out. I would have fought to the death before I let them have the money for a markup or ridiculous add-ons at a car dealership. Impossible to get out of my hands. Now, if it was just falling out of the sky money, meaning the stock market or stimmy checks or refinance money, they thought their house was going to keep going through the ceiling, it's a little bit easier to let go psychologically. Maybe not for me because I've been burned. Watch my last video. But for a lot of people, that's what happened. So what do I think is going to happen here? What is already happening here is you're going to see used car prices continue to fall rapidly. So if you need to sell a car, sell it now. If you have a Dodge Charger or Challenger you want to get rid of, sell it now. I went for fun on, I think it was gimmethevin.com, and I put the VIN number in for this Scat Pack. Just one day sitting on the couch. I'm like, I wonder how much they would give me for this thing. And they offered me $54,000. I paid $60,000. That's not bad considering years ago you would lose $10,000 rolling off the lot. They came back and said $54,000. When I said no, because I'm not going to sell the car, I'm keeping this car. But they came back and said, well, then what would you take? We were going back and forth, $55,000, $56,000. And when I said 60 grand, I'd sell it. I mean, I'd just go buy another one probably. But they didn't go there. They stopped. So now, that was maybe 2-3 weeks ago. Today, I guarantee you, I'd be lucky maybe to get 55 out of this thing, because I think the market's crazy. And these cars, these Dodge Charger wide bodies and Challenger wide bodies, are rare cars. They're not easy to get your hands on right now. So this does not fall in the same realm as all other cars out there that you can walk into a dealership and get. These are actually hard to get, and they're actually starting to see some softening of prices. Gas prices certainly have an effect on a giant V8 car. All these factors kicking in together, I believe this is going to trickle itself in to the new cars. And these dealerships are going to find out the hard way that all this greed this last several years is going to come back to bite them as they sit on these cars asking $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 plus $3,000 or $4,000, $5,000 in add-ons, and we start saying no. And I'm here to beg and ask all of you and plead to all of you that just because we all love these cars and Dodge is short on production and they have yet to have told us when ordering is going to happen, that when they do, just say F no to markups, just say F no to add-ons.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Don't do it. The more we hold out while this market slides, the more they're going to have to reduce those prices and start coming to us to get us to buy their cars versus us going to them. I want you to think about it like this. If I said, how many of you, by a show of hands, are buyers for a Hellcat red-eye jailbreak like I had for $100,000? And maybe a couple of you raise your hands. But I mean, you're like slow, like cautiously raising your hands. But if I told you, what if you can get that same exact car for $10,000, $12,000, maybe $15,000 less? How many of you would suddenly say, I'm a buyer? And I would tell you, a lot of you are. I certainly would. At $10,000 less, I'm a buyer, because $10,000 less offsets the increase in the interest rate and takes me back to the payment that I want to be, and makes it easier for me to offset it even more with a down payment. A modest down payment, $5,000 or $10,000 down payment, the way things used to be. But we're not there today, but I believe we're headed there. Now, yes, some of you are going to argue with me, and this is controversial in the comments, and you're going to say, you're out of their mind. People are going to be, you're out of your mind. So many people are going to be lined up for these cars. Maybe they will be. Part of it is going to be a lack of knowledge about the fact that there's so many of these cars that have been built for so many years that these are not going to suddenly catapult up in value. That the economy is going to be way more of an influence than the rarity of these cars, and affordability is going to be impossible to ignore, and people are going to have to throttle back their spending. They're going to have to make smart decisions, and they're not going to put their families at risk like they did before, and they're going to say no, like I did. And I'm telling you, I make really good money. Like, in my family, it's astonishingly good money, and I wasn't going to make that decision because it just didn't make sense. And here's a couple examples. This is absolute real life examples I'll put on the screen. 3.5, 4 weeks ago, I was at the Lamborghini dealership looking at a Lamborghini Huracan with my buddies, and they were all pushing me to do it, and I was almost there. I was so excited. The car was beautiful. It was beautiful white LP610-4, gorgeous Lamborghini Huracan. This car was priced at $220,000. I think it's $219,900. And there was another one at another dealership, a non-Lamborghini dealership, just an exotic car store, where theirs was like $214,900, so $215,000. And these cars were almost identical in almost every way, even on the mileage within like 1,000 miles of each other. And I remember thinking and telling the dealership, would you match the price of that other place and come down to $215,000 if I bought the car today? Or let's say it was Saturday, on Monday, if I came back, would you do that? Absolutely not. No discussion about reducing that price. firm on the price. Same thing they told me back in 2020. At these dealerships, we don't negotiate our prices on these exotic cars. They're rare, they're delicate, they're amazing. Okay, cool, you're not going to reduce the price. Awesome. Understandable. It's a very popular car. You've been selling them like crazy. You have a lot more cars in your lot than you had in the past, but I believe you. So then I'd have to buy that other one, or I have to pay the extra $5,000 to buy this one from you and get it from an actual Lamborghini dealership. Yes, okay, fine. Both those cars are now priced at $210,000. Actually, one I think is like $212,000, and the other one is like $209,900. In a matter of 3 or 4 weeks, this has not happened, folks, in a solid 2 years. Prices on Lamborghini Huracans has not dropped. A 2015 Lamborghini Huracan was $180,000 in 2019. In 2021, those things were running at $250,000. For a 2015, the MSRP on a brand new one, a regular base model, maybe with the glass bonnet, was still around $250,000, $240,000 to $250,000 range, brand new. And to think the used ones got up to $250,000. A good friend of mine bought one for $230,000. Similar miles on it, maybe a little bit less. Similar car, everything. $230,000. Today, that same car is $210,000. And I think it's still, I know it's still going down. It's going to continue to go down. I believe those cars are going to break the $200,000 mark, as they should, because they were way inflated and dealers were just cashing in a huge way. So much is going to happen. So much is going to change. And I think the cards are going to get handed back to us, or we're going to be able to negotiate. But we have to be smart. We have to not run in, with our hair on fire. I have to have that Dodge Charger before anybody else, and overpaying for it. Hold up. Wait a minute. Slow down. Lots of repos are going to come out. You're going to be able to buy these things used. And by the way, they look exactly the same as the brand new ones. And you're going to get your car for a lot less money. And you're still going to have to pay a higher interest rate, which sucks. So you better get a good price on the car. So hopefully that all makes sense, folks. And hopefully this helps you all. And I hope we can lock arms together and say, dealers, I hope you choke on the markups that you're still trying to get. And despite the shortage of the new cars, people are not going to pay these insane prices. I still believe $100,000 for a Dodge Charger is just stupid. And that's what got me before with my jailbreak. It just hit me like, with power dollars, they would have given me $8,000 off on that car, and they would have still made money. But no more power dollars. So why would I do that deal? And I guarantee you they're going to raise prices for 2023, and just a straight up standard Hellcat is going to start scaring $90,000. It's going to be pretty insane. Throw some stickers on it, call it a swinger model, whatever, and you're going to have a car that's going to start hitting the $95,000 range, not even being a jailbreak. That's how stupid things, they're going to try to put these things over on us. So don't fall for it, everybody. So with that, really appreciate you all watching. Please like, subscribe, stay motivated, stay positive, be respectful in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Handle? Oh, I wonder where you were. Hey, be careful. Don't put any toast in the toaster, and don't turn on the toaster. My keys are in the toaster, so don't do that. Say hi to the cat. All right. All right, thanks.